Imagine you are hopelessly lost trying to find a specific building in a major city. You're pressing the gas pedal, you're gripping the steering wheel with intense focus, and you're maintaining a relentlessly positive attitude. But every turn you take pulls you further into unfamiliar territory. The reason you are lost has nothing to do with a lack of effort or a bad attitude. The problem is that the map in your hands has a massive misprint. You are trying to navigate Chicago, but the publisher accidentally printed a map of Detroit. No amount of hard work, speed, or positive thinking is going to get you to your destination. It is physically impossible to reach a Chicago address using a Detroit map. We all carry around psychological equivalents of these maps. They're called paradigms, or paradigm in Hindi. A paradigm is the underlying mental model, the hidden lens through which we interpret and navigate reality. When we face chronic frustrations, a stagnant career, a failing marriage, or a rebellious child, we usually try to fix the problem by driving faster. We deploy new communication hacks or productivity techniques. But those quick fix-ins are entirely useless if we are operating on the wrong mental map to begin with. To see how mental maps trick us, look at this drawing. Instantly, your brain locks on to a specific image. Half of you see a fashionable young woman looking away, but the other half will be absolutely certain they are staring at a sad elderly woman. The young woman's delicate jawline is the exact same ink stroke as the old woman's large nose. Researchers at Harvard Business School actually tested this fascinating phenomenon with their students. They took two groups of students and conditioned them by showing them preliminary sketches. One group saw hints of the young woman, the other saw hints of the old woman. When both groups were finally shown the exact same combined drawing on the projector, they argued fiercely over what it was. Neither group was lying. Their prior conditioning had literally dictated what their brains allowed them to see. They were looking at the exact same lines, but referencing entirely different mental maps. If our brains can instantly misinterpret a simple ink drawing based on a few seconds of conditioning, we have to consider the maps we've built over a lifetime. Our deeply held beliefs about success, parenting, and relationships might also be built on a flawed perspective. Author Stephen Covey experienced this exact flaw in his own family. One of his sons was severely struggling. He was failing his tests at school, and in sports, he was so uncoordinated he would swing a baseball bat before the ball was even pitched. Covey and his wife desperately wanted to help, so they deployed all the standard behavioral techniques. They pumped the boy up with forced positivity, cheering from the sidelines with phrases like, "You can do it." When other kids laughed, the parents stepped in to overprotect him, scolding the bullies and shielding their son. The result was a total failure. The son didn't improve. Instead, he would break down, cry, and say he hated baseball anyway. The constant cheerleading and protection actually eroded his self-esteem, confirming to him that he was inadequate and needed saving. The Coveys were relying on what is known as the personality ethic, or Vyakti Adharit Niti Shastra. This is the modern societal belief that success comes from public relations, communication hacks, and quick-fix psychological tricks. It treats deep structural problems with a surface-level band-aid. Eventually, Covey had a painful realization. He looked past his own positive words and examined his true motives. He realized his underlying paradigm, his map, was that his son was falling behind and was an embarrassment to Covey's own social standing as a leadership expert, and his son could sense that hidden truth. You cannot mask a negative perspective with a positive attitude. If your foundational belief is that someone is broken, your true motives will always bleed through your techniques, no matter how encouraging your words sound. The alternative to this superficial approach is the character ethic, or Charita Adharitra Niti Sastra. This is the belief that true success requires abandoning surface management and doing the heavy lifting of fixing the deep underlying bedrock. Covey and his wife made a radical decision. They stopped trying to change their son. Instead, they did the hard internal work of changing themselves. They reshaped their own mental map to genuinely see the boy's innate, independent worth, completely separate from his grades or athletic skills. They dropped the micromanagement. They stopped the artificial cheerleading. And by simply giving him the space to exist without constant evaluation, the son began to flourish at his own pace. He eventually built authentic confidence, became a student leader, and excelled academically. True relationship repair doesn't come from manipulating the behavior of the person across from you. It comes from an internal change in how you view who they are. The son's success wasn't the result of a new social trick. It was the byproduct of a change in his parents' core beliefs. This reveals a hierarchy of success that defines secondary greatness as your talents, your communication skills, and your manicured public image. Beneath that lies primary greatness, a person's actual character, deep integrity, and authentic motives. Here is the paradox. You can use secondary greatness to charm your way through a quick meeting or fake your way through a short-term interaction. But it is impossible to fake primary greatness in long-term relationships. Over years of marriage or decades of raising a child, who you actually are speaks much louder than what you say. The world's best communication skills and life hacks are entirely useless and often destructive if they aren't built on a foundation of genuine character. When we prioritize the foundation over the surface, the direction of our effort reverses. This is the inside-out, or andar se bajar ki or approach. It establishes that all lasting external change must start at the absolute center, with yourself, before it can ripple out to affect the world. This means moving away from the cultural obsession with finding quick-fix bandages to cover up deep, systemic wounds. Instead of constantly trying to manipulate your circumstances or fix the people around you, you have to interrogate your own mental maps. You have to ask yourself if you are even looking at the right city. Because until you fix the internal lens through which you view reality, no amount of positive thinking or grueling hard work will ever get you where you want to go.